Hey, what's up everybody? Our Boots here, and welcome back to another episode of Flashback Games. Today, I'm playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and you're probably wondering, I thought Flashback Games was supposed to be a bunch of games from your childhood. Well, this game was actually part of my childhood, and it probably shouldn't have been, but it was. So I'm going to start off by saying this is actually a post commentary. I guess technically that's a normal commentary, but I wanted to tell a story during this episode, and I found out very quickly that I cannot tell a story while concentrating on anything. So I decided, why not try to do something a little different? So I don't know how long this video will be, but so I haven't played San Andreas in quite a while. This was actually the first time in probably about 4 years. And San Andreas, I would say, playing the game to record this, I realized how screwy some of the controls are. You might notice throughout the video that the on-screen tips, it tells me like has like joystick button like 1 through who knows how many, and it's kind of weird because the game has controller support, but I guess it doesn't realize that I'm using an Xbox controller, but it works, but it doesn't fully work. So that's that reason. But I haven't actually tried playing this game with a mouse and keyboard. I tried the controller just for the authenticity of using a controller. So maybe the weapons handle differently when using a mouse and keyboard. Because one problem I had was most games when I aim and shoot a gun, I tend to move all around, and you can't do that too well in this game. If you start walking back, CJ, he turns around and starts just shooting up in the sky, which is not very effective, and it's quite annoying. And I don't know if that actually will get in this video. I don't even remember when that happened, but yeah, that was pretty bad. But with all the complaints I have with the screwy controls, after all, this game is, I think, 10 years old. I would say that this is probably the second best GTA ever. GTA 4 was good, but that was the first game they made, and by they, I mean Rockstar. That was the first game Rockstar made with their now current game engine. So it's a little understandable that it wouldn't be as full or like fleshed out as GTA 5 is. But I think just all around, well, okay, no, I shouldn't say all around. After I just got done complaining about the controls, but I like the story pretty well in San Andreas. I don't really remember it all that much, to be completely honest, but I really love the map. I'm a little disappointed, I guess, in GTA 5 with the map. I don't have any complaints about the map in GTA 5, but seeing the map in San Andreas, there are some things that I kind of wish were in the GTA 5 world, and one of those is what was it? Las Venturas, which is basically a Las Vegas, and with all the whatever, they're made up names for the buildings and all that stuff. And another one was, I think the name of it was San Fierro, which was their version of San Francisco. And like I said, as much as I like the GTA 5 San Andreas, I still wish it had those parts of the map in it, just because I don't know. The way the city looks is just incredible, I guess. There were also some side quests and activities that I kind of wish GTA 5 had as well. And a lot of those have actually been in most of the previous GTAs. And it's like, I think, hold on. I remember GTA 4 had the vigilante missions. They were different from the way they worked in the old GTAs. I actually don't even remember if GTA 5 had any vigilante missions for the cop cars. If they do, I know it's done in a different way. But there's that, oh, I guess taxi missions are in GTA 5. What's the other ones? There's firefighting missions, those are pretty fun. And ambulance missions, which for the most part they were basically modified taxi missions. Drive from point A to point B. If it was an ambulance, pick up a patient. You could only carry like 5 people in your ambulance at once. You'd have to drop them off at the hospital and pick up more. And progressively, you had to pick up more and more people. And it would... Eventually, you'd reach a point where it's just impossible to get all the patients. The vigilante ones were drive from point A to point B, kill these people. Sometimes they're on foot, sometimes they're in vehicles. And what was the other one I said? I don't remember. Either way, there was stuff like that. San Andreas had the vehicle robbery missions, and GTA 5 has that, sort of. It's done completely different, though, because these are the ones in GTA 5 were part of the main story, and there were only, I think, about 10 cars, which was probably about 3 or 4 missions. I don't remember completely. And San Andreas had literally blackboards full of lists of cars, and I don't remember if you actually got anything special for completing all of those, but it's just something extra to do in the game. Vehicle customization. That's in 5, but there was one thing that I wish it had that San Andreas has, and that's hydraulics. I don't really know how they would make them work, because the way they work in San Andreas is the right analog stick controls it, and in GTA 5, with the drive-bys working the way they do, that wouldn't really work too well, but I don't know, it's just kind of something I wish they had. Something a little slightly stupid and slightly entertaining. And I think a mission that is probably in this video, I don't remember, but that's house robberies. And these were, the one I do in this game session was part of a mission, but it's actually something you can do any time. Well, any time during the night. You just pick up I think there's only one vehicle location in the entire map that activates this mission. But you can just break into people's houses, steal a bunch of stuff, turn in the van at the end of the night, and I don't know how much money you'd actually get. Probably was never really worth it, but it's the small things that keep you entertained a little bit more. Another thing that kept me entertained, which wasn't really a part of the gameplay of this game, but I remember this game had like a lot of conspiracies about it, and like some of the things in it were, there was like some kind of ghost car that you could find in the middle of the woods, like a Leatherface reference. Let's see, Bigfoot, and GTA 5 sort of has a Bigfoot one. The first one is in my Let's Play. I remember when I was hunting for the O'Neills, the last, like, 3 of them, I definitely saw a Bigfoot, and the reason I say definitely is because I even saw a video about the Bigfoot in GTA 5, so I'm not the only one that saw it, and I wasn't just seeing things. And I mean, there's also the one Strangers and Freaks mission that gets, or that's available after you 100% the game. But there were, I can't remember if you could actually find Bigfoot in San Andreas. I mean, I saw videos, but I don't remember if those were all modded games or not. But yeah, plenty of conspiracies there. One thing that I'm thinking of just now is this game had jetpacks in it. I kind of wish that GTA 5 had jetpacks in it, but it does kind of make sense why there's no jetpacks, because I feel like you could abuse the accessibility of stuff with jetpacks. I don't remember, I think it was just something that could spawn in certain places. I can't remember how you could legitimately obtain it. I know there was a cheat for getting it, but to actually find one in the world, I can't remember where you would go about doing that, but I know it was possible. This game, oh, it also had night vision goggles and heat-seeking goggles, which for the most part were kind of useless, but it's also just another one of those small things that if you want to use it, well, it's there. It probably didn't actually do anything but change the color grading of the screen, but another thing that I think, I wouldn't say all old GTAs because I don't really remember, but I remember Vice City and San Andreas had this, and that was the ability to own multiple properties, and 5 sort of has that. It's not quite at the level that the old GTAs had. I mean, you can buy like you can buy property that will gain you like a weekly income from it. Like you can get the golf what's it called? The country club, a golf country club. You can get the movie theater and all that stuff, Smoke on the Water, but most of those is just a weekly income that for the most part is kind of irrelevant. You can get the garages, each character has one, which is nice, but it's still really only one other sort of property that you can have. Online kind of takes it a little bit farther where you can actually have multiple houses, but you could actually have multiple houses scattered throughout the entire map. So you might have a few houses in downtown San Andreas. You might have, I remember the gas station in San Fierro. I don't know why I liked that part of the map so much, but I remember that specific property. And a lot of the time, some of the properties actually had certain bonuses. Like some of them would have certain weapons or cars that would always spawn there. And mostly, each one had, I think each house had a garage. It might be wrong, but just more places you can store your mass supply of cars. One thing that was specific to San Andreas, that was the only one that had this, and that was the stat system. I guess you could say that GTA 5 sort of has stats with like each character has driving, special, shooting, all that stuff. But San Andreas kind of takes it a little farther with there's like stamina, max health, strength. And all of that stuff actually, the reason that I'm separating this from GTA 5 is these stats actually could fluctuate. Like I think if you died a bunch of times, your max health would actually go down. I can't remember if it could actually go down from the default. Maybe not. I guess I never really had that problem, because anytime I die, I always just reload a save and just get on with my life. But another thing that GTA 5 doesn't have, and I guess it makes sense that it doesn't have it, but this actually, your weight and your muscle actually change the character model, and that's something that doesn't really do anything to the gameplay, but it was just interesting to see the different states that Carl Johnson could be seen in. I never really got the full experience of this, because when I played the game, I can't remember if I said this before, but GTA 5 was actually the first Grand Theft Auto that I've played without, or that I beat without using cheats. So I used cheats a lot in this game, so I didn't really deal with the stats, because I'm pretty sure I just maxed out the strength, and I think there was also a cheat that allowed you to lock your stats so you never had to worry about them, and I'm pretty sure that's what I had. I may have turned it off, because I think I actually legitimately obtained the max health, but for the most part, no. Stats were not an issue for me. So I guess if you want a GTA game, but you don't want to pay for GTA 5, I strongly recommend this one if you can deal with the dated graphics and mostly the dated controls, because that was the thing that really bothered me while playing this again, is how bad the controls are. But I'm sure eventually, after enough playing, you would get used to that, but it's definitely something you have to get used to. So I've been a fan of the GTA series since I was about 7 or 8 years old, which probably is not a good time to start playing games like these, but whatever. The first time I was introduced to GTA was from one of my brother's friends. This was back when we had a GameCube, so anytime he would come over, he would bring over his PS2 and bring over a bunch of games. I think most of them were actually M-rated video games, so at that time we thought we were so cool because we were playing M-rated video games when technically we weren't supposed to. But one of the games that he sometimes brought over was GTA Vice City, and he would usually bring over like whatever games he has. So every time he'd come over, we'd be like, "Oh, did you bring GTA?" And well, sometimes he would bring it, and other times he'd be like, "Oh no, it's at my brother's house," and we'd just be like, "Well, I guess you're here, so you can stay." Most of the time, I wouldn't get to play the game. I would just have to watch my brother and his friend play it. But every once in a while, when they'd go outside and shoot each other with airsoft guns, I'd be sitting inside and I'd start up the game, and I would have no idea what I'm doing, but from what I can remember, I had fun doing it. I probably just drove around in cars, running people over, because I didn't know any of the cheat codes at the time. And for some reason, he never had a save file. I don't know if he didn't have a memory card at the time, but I specifically remember having to watch the intro cutscene every time we'd start up the game. So after the minute of the loading screen, we'd have to sit through about 30 seconds of dialogue that we had no idea what they were talking about. But yeah, we listened to the intro of that game many, many times. I do kind of wonder if playing the game like this, using cheat codes all the time, is kind of why I always played GTA with the cheat codes. Because I played through San Andreas using cheats. I played through 4 using cheats. I never actually beat Vice City. I've been playing through it, well, I'd say recently, but it's been a couple months since I've started up the game. But I'm trying to play that without cheats, and I would say 5 is probably the easiest one to play without cheats. but that's because it's got the health regeneration feature and also the feature where you don't lose all of your guns whenever you die, and there's actually mission checkpoints. But for the most part, these old GTAs are actually quite difficult, and most of that reason was because there was no health regeneration. So the cheat I used the most was mostly just the health and armor cheat. Occasionally I would spawn a race car just to get from point A to point B faster. GTA wasn't actually the first M-rated video game we had, we got. The first one we got was Turok Evolution, and side note, I've been trying to get an emulator working so I can make a video of that as well, but I kind of ran into problems, so yeah, I guess I don't know about that. But the first GTA we sort of owned was San Andreas, and this was from my brother's same friend. I don't remember why he gave it to us. So this was after our GameCube. We had a PS2 at this time, and I think he had the 360 because it was that was the current gen. I think that was like new at the time, and so yeah, for a while we were kind of a generation behind in video game consoles, and actually I'm technically a generation behind now because I don't want no current gen console. But I think either he just didn't play his PS2 anymore, or his PS2 was broken, so he had no use for the game anyways. So he let us take GTA San Andreas, and like I said earlier, we were pretty young. I was at least 9 years old, maybe 10, because I think this game came out when I was 9 years old, and I doubt that it was a brand new game then, but I don't know. It could have been. So our parents wouldn't allow us to play a GTA game for obvious reasons, because we were quite young. So that made it so that pretty much the only time we ever played was when our parents were gone. Anytime they'd leave, I'd quick run, turn on the PlayStation, put in GTA. We probably had to hide the CD or the game. I want to say we hid it underneath the TV stand. But the point is, our parents didn't know that we had the game. So since our game time was limited to when we were home alone, I kind of got a little sick of that. So I started playing it a little more frequently when my parents were home. And whenever I'd hear footsteps coming towards my room, I'd have to quick pause the game, change the channel, make it look like I was just watching TV. And that worked for, it was probably only about a week. And one time my mom walked in. I was only in the gym, and I probably would have been just fine if I was just on the gym or in the gym running on the treadmill. My mom wouldn't have questioned it. But since I changed the channel when she walked in the room, it made it a little bit suspicious. So she's like, what are you playing? I'm like, I'm running on the treadmill. Yeah, but what are you playing? I'm like, Grand Theft Auto. And I don't know what happened to this game, because I don't think the friend got the game back. My mom probably ended up throwing it away, and we didn't dare ask my brother's friend if he ever got the game back, because we probably didn't want him to know that we got in trouble for playing the game. So there might just be a copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas somewhere in the landfill. After this, it had probably been a couple years since I actually played another GTA, and this was when one of my friends had it for the PS2. He had Vice City. So whenever, I think it was actually technically his grandpa's game, so every once in a while he would have it, and whenever I'd go to his house or whenever he would come to my house, we'd play Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And I think pretty much the same thing happened with him. He got a 360 and I was still stuck with the PS2. So he let me borrow Vice City, and I was still pretty young at this time, so I was still limiting my game time to when I was home alone. But this was when all of our stuff, our TV, our game console, was moved to the basement, so I could hear footsteps farther away. So if I heard anyone coming down the stairs, then it was easier to change the channel. However, this one didn't end up in the trash. I think I was probably about 14 when I was playing this, so I think I did actually get caught playing it, but since I wasn't 10 years old, my mom didn't feel obligated to throw it in the trash. So I probably got maybe about halfway through the game when we got our 360, and I just gave the game back to my friend. I probably normally would have kept it, but for some reason we weren't allowed to have more than one console at a time. I don't really know why. It could have been simply because it just takes up more unnecessary room. So if I would have still had our PS2, then I probably would have ended up keeping the game, but I did not. So I played the 360. I don't know how long it was, but then Microsoft introduced the very first games on demand section. I think all of the first couple of games were only Xbox originals, and GTA San Andreas was one of those games. So I bought my Microsoft points. I think the game was only $20, so that was the first GTA I actually officially owned, and played that all the way through. I completed the entire story. From what I completed the story. I remember killing the final boss, trying to keep this spoiler free. And I think it was around this time when GTA 4 came out, and I was still, I'm going to say 15 years old when this was happening. I don't know. These ages are all kind of just what I'm assuming, so it's probably wrong. And obviously I wasn't old enough to buy the game for myself, and I didn't dare ask my parents if they would buy it for me. So I don't think I ever actually played that before I owned it, but a couple years later, that game was also released on the Games on Demand section. So this was probably 4 years ago, maybe, yeah, I'm gonna say 4 years ago. And I played through that entire game, still using cheats. So San Andreas was the first one I actually beat, and then obviously 4 was. And I bought GTA 4 3 times, I think. I technically own San Andreas 3 times too, because I bought San Andreas for the Xbox. Then I also got the Grand Theft Auto Complete Pack on Steam. So that was my second copy of San Andreas. And then I pre-ordered GTA 5 on the PC and got a third copy of San Andreas. GTA 4 I bought 3 times. Once for my console, once for about $5 on Amazon, and another time again from the GTA Complete Pack. Then I also bought The Ballad of Gay Tony twice, once for console and once from the Complete Pack. And I bought GTA 5 twice, once for the console and once for the PC. So you could say I'm a pretty big fan of the Grand Theft Auto series. backtracking a little bit. I don't know how many years ago this was. My best guess is whenever Modern Warfare 2 was the newest Call of Duty game. But I was talking to one of my friends, and he said, this was the same friend that let me borrow Vice City. He said that he's borrowing his PS2 from his grandpa, or his grandpa gave it to him or something. And he was all excited. He's like, guess what game I found in the tray? And of course, I guessed Grand Theft Auto Vice City. So yeah, that was the game, and we probably stayed up most of the night just playing Vice City. What a good game. It's older than San Andreas, but when I started playing Vice City a couple months ago, the controls actually seemed better than San Andreas. I haven't actually tried San Andreas with the mouse and keyboard. I was still using the controller for this video, but I might want to try that. But this was back when a lot of the guns you couldn't even move when you were aiming, and that might be where the problem with San Andreas comes into play, because you can walk around, but the way the guns handle when you're walking around in San Andreas is programmed really, really poorly. One thing I kind of forgot to mention a little earlier, San Andreas, the reason I picked this and not Vice City is, well, for one, I just kind of think San Andreas is an all-around better game, but also, I'm sure, and I hope none of you know this, but San Andreas was actually the first video game I had on my channel, and I'm pretty sure I have since removed the videos, or at least I know I kept the videos, but I think they're private. They should be if they're not. I'll have to double check that after I'm done recording this, but for some reason I thought it was a good idea to try a Let's Play of San Andreas for my first game and my first series on my channel, which was a bad idea on so many levels. One, why are people gonna want to watch a Let's Play of a game that was at the time about 8 years old? So I definitely wouldn't be getting any views from people. I think surprisingly I did actually get some views. One, choosing a game that is that big and would take that long to finish for my first Let's Play was not a good idea. I think back then, if I were to try and start with GTA 5, I probably wouldn't have ended up finishing the series. I probably would have just played it on my own. So yeah, San Andreas, do not start a channel with videos of that game. I think I got about 4 episodes recorded when I realized that it was a very stupid idea. Either that or I was already done playing the game, because I was playing this on my Xbox, recording it with my camera. And no, when I say I recorded with my camera, I don't mean that I set it up on a tripod and put it in front of my TV. I was never that ignorant when I started making videos for my YouTube channel. There was a way I could hook up my camera to the TV, so it would basically copy the screen, the TV screen, to the camera, and I could record it that way. However, that was a really annoying way to do that, and I recorded Warp this way too, and the reason it was really annoying is because I had to, I think back then we were still using HDMI, for the Xbox, and I had to trade that out and go to, oh crap, what's the red, whatever. I basically had to convert, or not convert, change the video to 480p, and it was less enjoyable to play, but it was impossible to record the game in HD. So that was kind of a side note that was irrelevant to this. From what I can think of now, those are all of the stories I have of GTA. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed my stories. If you haven't subscribed already, please do, and I will see you later. Bye.